My mission has not really changed from what I started from the beginning, and maybe it's getting bigger instead, because right from the beginning I've been focusing a lot of attention in support of women and children, and just not ordinary women but disadvantaged women, and especially women who have been caught and kidnapped by the rebels, taken and trained as child soldiers, used as sex slaves, people whose dignity have been totally taken away from them, robbed from them, young women who are forced to commit terrible atrocities, murdering sometimes their own siblings. And these are people I decided very much to support. Supporting them by allowing them to come in what I wouldn't now call a school, but in a family, because we've been living together with them just like a family. And you would not know what to offer exactly except being present with them and working with them through their own problems, allowing them to be able to speak about these problems, which is very, very difficult. And it is only when you can let these children trust you, these young women trust, by knowing that you're going to be with them, you're going to work with them, then they begin to speak and really open up and tell exactly the pain they've gone through. I knew that these young people, young women who had already got a lot of trauma and have faced a lot of problems, a lot of pain, had no dignity, they had no strength, they were so vulnerable, and I didn't want people to take advantage of their vulnerability. In a way, I had to overcome my own fear and really stand up for these people, because I knew I would be able to stand up, and I knew that my own pain would not be as much as these children went through. And that's why I was determined to stand up and say, I'm going to protect these children. I think my faith played a great role in helping me to do what I'm doing, because I also realized that, for instance, confronting an enemy, if I really was aggressive, I would not make any right and I would not do the right thing. I really wanted even to practice forgiveness, because if I didn't practice that forgiveness, I would not be able to tell these young women, first of all, to even forgive themselves. And so I wanted to offer good for evil. And that's what really played a big role in my life, and it is the strength I could get only from my faith.
I had a 25-year-old son named Brandon, just an ordinary Oklahoma kid who got addicted to painkillers, prescription drugs, playing college football. And I lost him in February of 2002, turned my life upside down. I really don't even remember who I used to be. And I was in a really bad place, and some of my friends, one of whom worked in Africa, convinced me to go to Africa. I had never heard of Sister Rosemary or Joseph Kony or the Lord's Resistance Army. I had heard of Idi Amin, but that's about all I knew. So 6 months after Brandon died, we went to Gulu, and then we went even further north and just drove around. We probably really weren't supposed to be there because the war was really going good. And we just saw some terrible things. Children being kidnapped and enslaved, and the more I studied about what was going on, the more it bothered me. But on the other hand, it opened my eyes that people in the world had it worse than me. And it helped me to quit feeling sorry for myself a little bit, not completely, but a little bit. And I came home and we started supporting Sister Rosemary and became good friends. And after a few years, I think it was 2007 or 2008, we decided we needed a mechanism where we could formally support her. And my wife, Rochelle, and I started Pros for Africa with some other friends. We try to teach people to go over and volunteer. And so it's been a 12-year relationship with Sister Rosemary. And to be quite honest with you, I think our kids here in America get more out of it than her kids do.
My greatest thing and greatest thought, which is just coming on my mind, is the connection which has developed after meeting Mr. Whitten and his family. And I found the connection only last year when I went at the graveside of his son, who is buried in the ground. I thought that was something which is the most important thing, is the greatest connection. And it gave me the picture that this boy is not dead, he is alive. And it gives me a picture that you plant a seed. The seed is not dead, the seed is growing. And in this case of meeting Reggie, it is growing into a big tree with the branches which are not drying. The branches are green, leaves which are green are going out to give life to other people. Reggie himself, for me, has been the greatest example of someone who has gone above his pain and is using his own pain of the loss of his son to give life to other people.
My friend, Sister Rosemary, I hear her speak all the time. And I heard someone ask her, because she teaches the girls how to sew and she teaches them how to cook so they can get a job. I heard her give a speech one time. She said, I'm not a professional cook and I'm not a professional seamstress, but I know how to cook and I know how to sew, and so I do what I can. And it made me think, you know, I'm a lawyer by profession. I'm not an author, but I know how to write. And this story is what's important. It's not who wrote it. And she's the story, and these girls are the story, and they cannot speak for themselves. No one had ever asked these girls what they had been through until we made the movie and the book. And they just want to be heard. And so that's what we're trying to do, is tell this incredible story.
6 years after Kony fled northern Uganda, the war still remains for one woman who directs a small tailoring school in Gulu, Uganda.
So we wrote a book about it, and we made a documentary film. Forrest Whitaker did the voiceover for the film. It's doing quite well at the film festivals, coming to Dead Center soon. And we really think this story needs to be told, and history needs to remember what happened here, because that's how you avoid history repeating itself, is by learning about these tragedies. And there's a lot to learn about this one. And the story of Sister Rosemary and what she did with Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army and fighting back. She's fighting against those terrorists with sewing machines and pop tabs. And it's just quite an amazing story. And we called it Sowing Hope. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would actually meet someone that was Time 100 most influential people, much less know her for 12 years. But when we found out that Sister Rosemary was being named one of Time's most 100 influential people, we were all bowled over, especially Rosemary, because Rosemary is just like Mother Teresa. She did not want any fame. She can't have fortune. She's taken a vow of poverty. All she wants to do is help the less fortunate. That's it.
You know, there are a lot of these things which are happening in my life, and when I look, I just don't get the meaning, and I don't understand how I'm quite small, I'm quite short, I'm really insignificant. And if I can be considered among 100 most influential people, I don't get it. But again, I just think if I can be considered among these people, and because of me, because of my small contribution, a lot of children, a lot of women will be saved in northern Uganda. I feel so emotional. And I think the honor is all for these almost forgotten people, these vulnerable people. I feel like crying.